We can call the service layer of Snowflake as the brain of the Snowflake because it control all the key component which enable Snowflake to perform fast, efficiently and more effectively. You can see few component on the screen as well. Talk about authentication, access control, all the security, all the metadata manager, optimization, infra management, all this been taken care by the service layer. And in fact, all the interaction with the Snowflake been established via the service layer. So whenever we are going to connect with the Snowflake, either via console, CLI, or any kind of connection like JDBC, ODBC, so we are connected to the service layer. Another thing is what service layer offers, it has some kind of cache within this layer which we call a result cache. So whenever we are firing any query for any data onto Snowflake, service layer retain that data into the result cache. And the benefit of that is if any other user firing the same query over and over again, service layer serve that data by itself. So it won't pass that query to compute layer for the data processing because Snowflake know that data is there in the result cache. So that is again one of the responsibility or features which service layer offers. Another important activity which service layer performs that during the data load, the service layer keep track of which data is stored in which partition. So what I mean by that is, if you remember, we in the last lecture we have gone across two different workload. Workload one was writing a data into my Snowflake using warehouse one. So whenever this data load happens, Snowflake keep track of the information which partition file is been mapped with which table and what kind of data been stored in which partition file. So let's take an example. Let's say we have a table EMP and it has six record and those six record been split into two different partition files. So although we know the one partition file can store a size of 16 MB after compression, but for simplicity, let's take one partition file has three record, another partition file have three record. Now, if let's say I got one query, this is the query I got where the EMP is 103. So my service layer know that this EMP 103 is present in my partition 1. So it is going to scan only partition 1. It is not going to scan partition 2. So that's how service layer contain that mapping or the metadata which help a query to hit only the partition which contain the data. Now let's say we have another query. We got where EMP is equal to 104. So it is going to hit only partition 2, right? Now, if we have any query which is required both the numbers 103 and 105, which is there on both the partition file, in that case, it is going to scan both the partition files. So basically, service layer have all this information, which where my data is located in which partition file for which table, and it scan the data efficiently and eliminate the requirement to scan any of the file which is not required. So that is what the purpose of maintaining or keep tracking where the data is stored in the partition files. Last not the least, another important thing is a service layer also help in maintaining the transaction consistency. What I mean is, in the previous example, we talk about two workload, where one workload is loading the data into Snowflake and another workload is catering all the data queries. So if my workload one completed and it has committed the transaction to my storage, then workload two queries will immediately reflect the data in the query output. So that's how service layer maintain the transaction consistency across the warehouse. So that is what I wanted to cover in the service layer. I'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you.